Hey guys, how are you? I don't know if anyone is out there live and able to tune in. If not, maybe you'll see this recap. I was going to write a post and then I decided it might just be easier to do a video. We don't see that many of them, and sometimes I can just talk better than I can sit down and write. But for those of you who don't know me, my name is Rachel and I joined this group early April after seeing a Facebook Live video that a friend of mine had made on her public wall about breast implant illness. And I had been struggling and having all kinds of symptoms and had no idea what was going on, and I was getting sicker and sicker and sicker. And when she made her live video, I immediately knew that this was exactly what was going on with me, and I joined this group. But to give you a little bit of a recap, I'm someone who has always been incredibly health conscious. I'm a fitness instructor. I take very, very good precautions in terms of what I eat, very conscientious. I've always used a lot of vitamins and supplements and other things. And despite all of that, my health over the last 5 years, now looking back on it for sure, hey Tracy, started to decline, but literally within the last 6 to 8 months, it got really, really bad, really fast. So some of the things in a nutshell, I had over 30 symptoms. If you guys, know the list, you've seen the BII symptom, the breast implant illness symptom list. I mean, I could check off 75% of those symptoms or more. But the biggest things for me for sure, and especially in the recent months, was hair falling out in massive clumps, extreme pain in all of my joints, my hips, my shoulders, my back, my feet, my ankles. I would get out of bed and seriously, I could have used a walker or a cane because I felt like I would fall over. Felt like I was 80 years old. My skin was just sagging and I was starting to look so old, and I would go in the mirror and I'd look and my eyes would be like just tiny little squints and I couldn't even open them. Depressed. I quit my job and moved to Mexico a year and a half ago. I should be the happiest that I've ever been, and I was crying for no reason. I was bitchy beyond belief. My poor husband of 12 years, we've been together 18 years. He's probably like, who is this woman and where did she go? What did she do with my wife? GI symptoms. Oh, I've had crazy, horrific digestive health issues. Just weird skin things that wouldn't heal, bad cellulite. I was gaining weight. I was puffy. I was inflamed. I mean, the list can go on and on and on, and I've posted about it. If you just search my name, I think I listed all of my symptoms going back even to 2013. Like grip strength. I couldn't hold on to things. I was dropping things all the time. My legs felt like I had 50-pound sandbags. I couldn't even walk. I mean, it was just horrible. And I just said to my husband at one day, like, what is going on? That just doesn't feel like me. There's something massively wrong. And then I saw my friend's Facebook live video about breast implant illness, immediately joined this group, immediately was online, like I'm sure many of you guys are, searching, one thing after another. And I was like, yes, these things have got to come out of my body. And so I immediately made a date. I did a Skype consult. I actually ended up going to Costa Rica for Dr. Urzola. If any of you guys know him, I had my surgery on June 4th, so only about 6 weeks after finding out about breast implant illness. I would have done it the next day if I could have, but, and I'll tell you, for those of you who haven't explanted yet, or you're new, or you're trying to figure out whether or not this is for you, all I can tell you is keep reading the stories of success, because it's absolutely amazing. And those 6 weeks leading up to the date of surgery were probably actually the hardest, because I knew that this was it and I just had to wait for that day to come. And I lost so much sleep and so many hours of night just up Googling and researching and reading about it. But it also got me super excited because I knew that this was finally a solution, and I knew that there was an answer to my problems. And yes, Dr. Yu is a saint. He's fabulous. If you guys are looking into him, absolutely amazing. So fast forward, I had my surgery June 4th. Awesome, went great, everything was wonderful. I'm not even joking you, I woke up from surgery and I felt different. And those next 24 to 36 hours freaking blew my mind. And I took pictures, and again, I can repost them in this post after I'm done with the video, or you can go back and see. But the change in my face, and you've seen before and afters, blew my mind. I knew something was going to happen. I knew I'd feel great, but it even blew my mind of how different I looked in 24 to 36 hours and how I started to feel. And those next 2 weeks were amazing. I had some pain from surgery, obviously, and I did have lipo and fat transfer. So to be totally honest, the lipo was the worst part of it all. The breast explant, actually very, very little pain, if at all. But it didn't even compare to the pain that I had had with the implants in, and I would do it all over again in a heartbeat. And those first 2 weeks were amazing, and I was on cloud nine, on a high. Everything was going great. I was feeling awesome. But I'm going to warn all of you guys going into this. They tell you to relax. They tell you to take it slow. They tell you to not overdo it. And I cannot urge you guys enough to follow that, no matter how great you feel, because I was like, I feel amazing. Like, why can I not get out and walk? And I did. I was that one who overdid it, and I ended up causing myself complications. So I got a seroma on the right breast that had to be drained 5 times when I was still in Costa Rica before I came back home here I live in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, actually. But it had to be drained 5 times, and then when I got back home, it actually was still filled with fluid for many weeks. Which ended up causing the scar tissue to get a little bit funky and drop. So I'm obviously not going to share and take off my shirt right now and show you, but I think I've got some pictures, or I can post an updated picture. But all of that added walking that I was doing immediately after surgery, when I should have just stayed in bed and rested and let my body heal, is partly what caused the seroma, and caused the seroma not to heal as fast, which then led to some of the scar tissue issues. So please, if you're going into it and you're going to have your surgery, take it easy, take it easy. Do not do things, even if you feel amazing. You've got your whole rest of your life, and I know for years so many of us were just bedridden and had no energy, and we're so fatigued that when you have that, it's like being on drugs, and you want to do it, but don't. Just save yourself and really hold and take it easy for those first few weeks after surgery, for sure. But then, because I was also up and moving and doing things, I was walking down a flight of stairs, and I slipped at about week 3 or 4, and I went and reached back with my left arm to try to catch myself so I didn't fall down the stairs, and immediately felt like I pulled or tore something. I knew instantaneously. And from that moment through the next 24 hours, my left breast blew up. I'm not even kidding you guys. It filled with so much fluid and inflammation. And I had a hematoma. I ended up going to the urgent care here in Puerto Vallarta the next day, and they did a ultrasound, and it definitely had a hematoma. And I think I probably either pulled or even tore my pec muscle, because then basically from week 3 until about last week, which was week 9, so for the last 6 weeks, I've been dealing with this hematoma that first expanded and blew up larger than even when I had the implant in, compared to then the smaller breast. So it just looked horrible, but it was so incredibly painful. I do not want anyone to ever experience that. So again, be so careful, especially probably if you've had a lift. I imagine that was partly the reason for the complication. But it swelled up, and then in the midst of that, I had a little bit of spitting stitches at the T-section of the wound on that side, and so the wound started to grow, the stitches spit out, and then of course with the hematoma expanding, all of that, the wound got bigger. And so for about 2 weeks, I was dealing with trying to heal a wound with a boob that was just so massive and painful. But then about 2 weeks after that happened, all of a sudden I'm standing, and I'm not even joking, you guys. This was the most bizarre thing, slightly freakish, but I'm going to tell you what happened. So if it happens to you, just beware. everything that was inside started gushing out. And I'm not kidding you when I say gushing. Like, I started to just grab paper towels because I was leaking all of this bloody fluid, whatever was inside of me. And I could not keep up with the paper towels, that I eventually went and leaned over the bathroom sink, and I stood there and I called my plastic surgeon immediately from Costa Rica, and it was like 9:30 on a Monday night, and he answered and he talked me through this, and he was again amazing. But I stood over and literally he's just telling me to squeeze and massage and press and let all of it drain out. 30 minutes I'm standing over the sink and things are just spewing. I'm not even kidding you, out of my body. And so I went through the process, and immediately, obviously, it felt better. I got a lot of that out, and so it started to reduce in size. And for the next 2 weeks, no joke, this happened 3 to 5 times a day, that I would go and just have to massage and drain all of this stuff that was coming on my body. So thank goodness I don't have like a regular day-to-day job that I have to go to, because I don't even know how I would have survived that. But it was quite a journey, quite a process. So that was one thing that happened. Then, in the midst of all this, something else that I had been working on was Candida and parasite protocol. I started that approximately 4 or 5 weeks after the explant. And if you're going to do that, I do highly recommend it. It was great, and I'll tell you kind of a little bit about that story. I'm going on, and I figured this is why I would do a video, because there's just so much to share, and I haven't been keeping up on my updates and posts in this group. But I started a pretty heavy detox working with some naturopath folks here in Puerto Vallarta and some friends who are nutritionists. But what I didn't know is the die-off, something called die-off. So if you really start to go in an intense detox process for Candida and other things, if you take a lot and you do it too fast and kind of overdo it in your body, all of these things can die in your body. But if you're not expelling them and eliminating them fast enough, then it causes a lot of toxicity in your body and massive types of like flu symptoms, and just you feel like crap, to be totally honest. So that lasted for like 5 to 7 days while I figured out what was going on. But in the midst of all that, I also started doing coffee enemas, which were super helpful. And if you're afraid of doing them, or you're like, oh my God, no way could I ever, please do some research and really think twice, because I think they were super helpful and helped to get rid of whatever was in my body from the die-off and all of those digestive issues that I was experiencing. It's like just that final push to get it all out of your body. And I Google, I research, I watch everything before I do it. I'm that type of person. And so there's YouTube videos out there. There's a girl that literally walks you through how to do the coffee enema from start to finish, where she's like laying on the bathroom floor, setting up all of her towels and mats, and almost to the point of showing you how she's going to go with the insertion process. But it was so helpful, and I really appreciated that. And it made the first experience, although kind of crazy, and it's a learning process, and every time you do it, it gets better, but it was worth it, and I knew what to expect. And anyways, anyone can always reach out to me and ask me any questions. I'm more than happy to share every full detail. But all of that to say is I definitely realized that I had parasites, and I made a post about this, and you can go back and look, and I won't go into so much detail now, but it ended up that I definitely expelled a parasite at least 18 inches long that ended up on the floor in my bathroom, and it was the most freakish, crazy, horrific thing. But a lot of people said better out than in, right? And I'm like, yes, better out than in. But ever since all of that and going through this journey, I'm going to tell you still to this day, it has all been 100% worth it. And this is what I'll wrap up, and I'll stop talking your ear off. But literally 90%, 95%, maybe almost even 100%, I'm trying to think what else is remaining of my symptoms are gone. From before having implants, 9 weeks, 10 weeks out now, I feel absolutely amazing. I feel 20 years younger, I don't know, 60 years younger. I felt like I was 80, and now I'm 37, and I feel like I'm back to 25. Even though I haven't been able to really work out, and as a fitness instructor, I can't wait to really get back and work out hard in the gym, but I'm appreciating just walking and peacefulness and meditating, and I'm learning to love my body for what it is, and recognizing that it's not about the outside, but it's how we feel on the inside, and your mindset, and to just feel alive and to appreciate every single moment and to have gratitude for what we're going through. And it's just, I can't tell you enough. If you're questioning whether or not your implants are making you sick, 100%, 150% they are, and just get them out. Because if I had known about it, first of all, if I had known about this, I would never, ever, ever have gotten the implants to begin with. Ever, 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 ever. It is so not worth it. And I'll be the first to say that I love them, and they made me feel great, and I was confident with them in at the time, but never would it have made it, none of that was worth all of the health complications that came afterwards. And the money that you spent is absolutely insane. It's probably $8,000 to get them in, another $13,500 to go to Costa Rica to get them out. Like, it's just not worth it. And don't even get me started on all the health costs I spent when I was back in the States trying to figure out what the heck was wrong with me over the last 5 years. But then a lesson learned, and sharing my story, and I've gone public on Facebook, and just the amount of women out there that don't know the medical industry and the profession. Half of them don't even know anyways, or they're denying it, or there's so much money that's being invested into putting implants into, not invested, but that comes from putting implants in women's bodies, that they're not going to tell us that these things can happen, and they are not very forthcoming. So we all need to continue to do a great job of sharing our own stories here in this group to prevent any other women who are questioning it. But then those of us that have gone through it, I think, to keep sharing, because we can make a difference in people's lives. And I've had so many women reach out and tell me that they are no longer going to get implants, even if they've been thinking about them after hearing my story, or they have them and they've already taken them out, or they've got their surgery scheduled. And that's what we're here to do. So anyways, I think that's all about my experience, but I wanted to just fill you in, and if anyone has any questions whatsoever, please don't hesitate to reach out. And love you all, and love everyone in this group for everything you did to help me with my journey, and if I can be here for someone else, I always am. Happy Wednesday.